Jaxon Hale's glittering music career collided with tragedy when 17-year-old fan Lily Gardner was found decomposed in the trunk of his abandoned car, sparking a nationwide hunt for the missing singer and exposing a web of betrayal that no one saw coming. The grocery store parking lot was nearly empty when the morning sun began to climb over the horizon. A few workers from the night shift hurried to their cars, but one vehicle drew quiet stares from anyone who passed. It was a faded blue sedan parked crookedly in a far corner, its paint dulled by dust and its right rear tire sagging against the pavement. The car had been there through the weekend, unnoticed, except for the slow drip of dark fluid pooling beneath the trunk. A security guard making his routine patrol noticed the strange puddle and a faint metallic smell that didn't belong in the cool autumn air. At first he thought it was leaking oil, but the odor was sharper, heavier. He radioed for assistance, uneasy without knowing why. When police arrived, they circled the vehicle cautiously. The windows were fogged from the inside despite the crisp weather. One officer tapped the glass and felt a clammy condensation slide beneath his fingers. A faint buzz of FLIs hummed near the trunk. They tried the keys left in the ignition, nothing. After a quick exchange, they pried the trunk open, and an overpowering stench rolled out like a physical wave. Seasoned officers stepped back, hands over their mouths, eyes watering from the sudden hit of decay. Inside, beneath a torn gray blanket, lay the decomposed remains of a young girl. Her form was collapsed and fragile, as though time had pressed her into the metal floor of the trunk. News of the discovery spread before noon. Shoppers whispered near the entrance of the store while reporters gathered behind yellow tape. Residents of the quiet Atlanta suburb stared at the television broadcasts with disbelief. No one recognized the car immediately, and the absence of a license plate deepened the puzzle. Forensics teams began documenting every inch of the vehicle, careful not to disturb the evidence. The interior smelled of mildew and something far worse, a scent that clung to the investigators' clothes long after they stepped away. Within hours, a more startling connection emerged. Registration records showed the car had once belonged to Jaxon Hale, a rising pop singer known for upbeat love songs and a devoted teen fan base. He had not been publicly seen for weeks. Friends said he had canceled upcoming appearances without explanation. As the day turned to evening, the city buzzed with speculation. How had the vehicle of a beloved performer become a tomb for an unknown girl? The answer was locked somewhere between the abandoned parking lot and the missing musician, and investigators knew they had only just opened a mystery that was far from over. The medical examiner worked through the night, carefully examining the remains despite the advanced state of decay. Clothing offered no clear identification, but a thin silver bracelet clung to the victim's wrist, its surface tarnished but still readable. Etched letters spelled out a single name, Lily. Detectives immediately cross-referenced local missing person cases and found a heartbreaking match. 17-year-old Lily Gardner, reported missing 2 months earlier from a suburb barely 30 miles away. Her parents had filled every lamppost and bulletin board with her photograph, pleading for tips that never came. The bracelet became the silent confirmation they dreaded, and the family was quietly notified before the information reached the press. Investigators began piecing together Lily's last known movements. Friends described her as a bright, music-obsessed high school senior who rarely missed a chance to see her favorite performers live. Ticket records revealed she had attended a Jaxon Hale concert the night she disappeared. Surveillance from the venue captured her entering through the main gates and later lingering near the backstage area long after most fans had left. She appeared excited, texting rapidly on her phone, before the footage ended without showing her departure. That final image of her standing near a service door would soon appear on every news broadcast in the city. Detectives obtained Lily's phone records and found a series of messages to an unknown number in the hours before she vanished. The exchanges were brief and cryptic, promising something special and instructing her to wait by the side door. The number was untraceable, registered to a prepaid account purchased in cash. Investigators suspected someone had lured her with the promise of meeting her idol, a tactic that preyed on her admiration for the singer. Meanwhile, the link to Jaxon Hale tightened. Neighbors told police they had noticed his sudden disappearance around the same time Lily went missing. He had canceled appearances, skipped interviews, and offered no explanation to his management team. The abandoned sedan, once registered in his name, became a crucial piece of evidence connecting him to the crime scene. Media coverage turned relentless. Fans who once sang along to his chart-topping hits now flooded social networks with theories and accusations. Some defended him fiercely, insisting he was incapable of violence, while others were certain the charming performer hid a darker side. Detectives felt the mounting pressure as television anchors speculated about his motives and whereabouts. With Lily identified and a famous musician at the center of the investigation, what began as a routine missing person case had erupted into a national mystery, and the hunt for the truth had only just begun. Detectives widened their investigation, determined to trace every step that connected the missing singer to the lifeless girl. Paperwork from the Department of Motor Vehicles confirmed that the blue sedan had been registered just weeks earlier under a false name. The signature was shaky, and the address provided led to a vacant apartment complex, a deliberate attempt to hide ownership. A deeper look into financial records revealed that Jaxon Hale had paid for the transfer in cash, leaving no digital trail. This discovery painted a troubling picture of someone deliberately concealing his movements, and the media seized on every detail, feeding public suspicion. Search warrants were issued for Jackson's penthouse downtown and a smaller studio apartment he occasionally used for songwriting. The penthouse was strangely lifeless, its sleek furniture undisturbed and refrigerator nearly empty. In a back room, investigators found a half-packed suitcase, its contents a confusing mix of stage costumes and hiking gear. A handful of unopened letters from his management team suggested mounting pressure over canceled concerts and unpaid contracts. The studio apartment yielded little more: scattered lyric sheets, an unused microphone, and a few discarded coffee cups. There were no signs of violence, only the eerie feeling of someone who had slipped away in a hurry. Friends and acquaintances described Jackson's recent behavior as erratic. He had spoken of creative burnout and hinted that someone was trying to ruin everything, though he gave no names. A former tour member recalled late-night calls in which the singer's voice sounded panicked and paranoid. Still, none of them believed he was capable of harming a fan. Investigators considered whether these comments pointed to a deeper feud or a mental break that could have led to tragedy. Despite the growing suspicion, detectives also entertained a different possibility: that Jaxon himself was being hunted. The prepaid phone that contacted Lily remained a frustrating dead end. Forensic specialists scoured the car's interior and found no usable fingerprints besides Lily's faint traces and a few belonging to Jaxon from before the transfer of ownership. No signs of a struggle appeared in the trunk, no fibers linking her to his penthouse. It was as if the car had been planted with the sole purpose of pointing blame at him. Days passed without a confirmed sighting, and rumors spread that he had fled the country. Every lead, from private airfields to rural motels, fizzled out. Investigators were left with a chilling uncertainty: either Jaxon was a calculating fugitive or a man being framed by someone who knew his habits intimately. The absence of proof for either scenario only deepened the mystery, pulling the case further into a shadowy tangle of deception. A week of unanswered questions finally broke when an automated license plate scanner flagged a rental car matching a description tied to Jaxon Hale. The vehicle passed through a toll station in the early hours of dawn, heading toward the Appalachian Mountains. Investigators traced the rental agreement to a false name, but confirmed through security footage that the driver's build and posture resembled the missing singer. A quiet operation began, involving state police and federal agents, as they tracked the winding roads leading to a remote cabin deep in the woods. Helicopters hovered at a distance while ground teams approached cautiously, fearing a confrontation or an escape into the dense forest. The cabin sat at the end of a gravel path, surrounded by towering pines and a stream that masked approaching footsteps. When officers entered, they found no one inside. The small space smelled faintly of coffee and wood smoke, evidence that someone had been there only hours earlier. A half-eaten meal lay on the counter, and a single laptop rested on a wooden table. It was open but locked with a simple password that investigators quickly bypassed. On the desktop was a single video file, time-stamped just that morning. The recording showed Jaxon seated at the table where the laptop now sat. His eyes were sunken, and his voice trembled as he spoke. He claimed that on the night of Lily's disappearance he had found her unconscious near the backstage exit after the concert. According to him, he panicked when she failed to wake and decided to drive her to get help, only to discover she had died during the trip. Fearing that no one would believe he had nothing to do with her death, he said he left her body in the car and ran. He insisted he never hurt her and had no idea how she ended up in his old vehicle weeks later, but the story raised as many questions as it answered. Digital forensics revealed that the laptop's clock was deliberately altered. The video's metadata indicated it had been recorded days earlier, contradicting the visible timestamp. Investigators also noted that Jackson's account left a gap of several crucial hours and failed to explain how the sedan had been re-registered or why the trunk appeared meticulously cleaned except for Lily's remains. Teams combed the surrounding woods for signs of his presence: footprints, discarded belongings, tire tracks, but found nothing beyond faint impressions leading to the nearby road. The singer had vanished once again, leaving behind only a haunting confession that felt both desperate and incomplete. Detectives were forced to question whether they were chasing a guilty man or someone entangled in a much larger, hidden scheme. Several tense days passed before the investigation took an unexpected turn. A sound technician from the night of the concert finally contacted authorities, uneasy after seeing news reports about the case. He admitted that while packing up equipment, he had noticed Lily leaving the venue with a man wearing a crew badge. The technician assumed the man was part of the singer's team and thought little of it at the time. Detectives seized on this lead, requesting all backstage footage once again, this time focusing not just on Lily but on anyone wearing a staff credential. Careful frame-by-frame analysis revealed a figure trailing Lily near the side exit, partly obscured by equipment cases. The man's height, posture, and distinctive walk bore an uncanny resemblance to Eric Rains, Jaxon Hale's former manager. Investigators remembered Rains as the once powerful industry veteran who had abruptly split with Jaxon after a bitter dispute over money and control of the singer's career. At first, the idea seemed far-fetched, but the resemblance was too strong to ignore. Detectives dug into Rains's recent activity and discovered a trail of suspicious transactions. He had purchased several prepaid phones around the time Lily disappeared and rented storage units under various aliases. When confronted with mounting evidence, Rains initially denied involvement, but faltered under further questioning. Eventually, he confessed to a plan born from resentment and greed. After losing his lucrative management deal with Jaxon, he had plotted revenge by framing the young star for a crime that would end his career. According to Rains, he watched Lily outside the venue, recognizing her excitement and her devotion to Jackson's music. Posing as a member of the crew, he convinced her she could meet the singer privately. Somewhere away from security cameras, an altercation occurred that left Lily fatally injured. Rains claimed it was an accident but offered few details. Terrified yet still determined to ruin Jaxon, he placed her body in the old sedan Jaxon had once owned, a vehicle whose paperwork he had quietly manipulated through a contact at a local garage. He then disappeared, confident that every clue would point to the missing musician. The revelation stunned the public. Jaxon, who eventually returned to speak with investigators, was cleared of all charges, but faced a world that no longer viewed him as the vibrant performer he once was. Though innocent, his reputation was permanently scarred, and his music career collapsed under the weight of suspicion. Eric Rains was convicted of multiple charges, including tampering with evidence and manslaughter. The case closed with a sobering reminder that envy and vengeance can be as destructive as any act of violence, leaving a trail of loss that no courtroom verdict could ever truly repair.